It is beyond an honor to be interviewing who everyone affectionately knows as Mauty. And Mauty, I swear to God, dude, I love you. You have 17,200 posts on Dental Town, and it's not that after 17,000 posts, I know you probably as well or better than my mom, dad, brother, whatever. But it's the fact that I gotta put you in historical context. In dentistry, it's this profession where the hardest way to do anything is the sacred way, and everybody's pushing the Pankey Institute and the Spear Center, and the most complicated way to do anything, the high cost, the Beverly Hills, the Key Biscayne, the rich and famous, and dentists, like, they go to a convention and if someone says, I trim my own dies. The next guy will say, I quarry my own stone and then I trim my own dies. Next guy's like, I have my own beehive. I grow my own wax. I quarry my own stone. I trim my own dies. It takes me 40 days and 40 nights to do a crown. Everybody's like, oh my God, I'm not worthy. And whoever buys the most expensive overhead, builds the biggest Taj Mahal, and takes the longest period of time to do a filling is a sacred saint in dentistry. And dude, from day one, I mean, it was like, I think you were a townie in 1998 or 1999, and you were the guy saying, I do low-cost dentistry. I take insurance. I take HMOs. I take PPOs, and I'm extremely successful. And so many people threw mud and dirt at you, and you just smiled and grinned all the way to the bank, and you held your ground. You never budged. And I just thought, my God, you're an amazing person. And thank you for all that.
Yeah, no problem, no problem.
Well, how was your journey on Dental Time? I mean, do you agree with my assessment? Do you agree that you kind of, some people wanted you to be like a panky dentist and you just held your ground saying, no, I'm doing HMOs and PPOs?
Yeah, I mean, and not only that, it's just the overall tone of the website and all the magazines I read. Especially like Dental Economics. That's the whole concept in dentistry is you have to do all that stuff to succeed. Besides going to Pankey and all that stuff, you have to upgrade your office to the most expensive equipment, and you have to have your layout in your office a certain way, and you have to spend an hour with the new patient exam and do a real comprehensive exam and talk to the patient. You have to push comprehensive dentistry and cosmetic dentistry, and your hygiene should taken 3 times what the salary is. There's all these ridiculous benchmarks that just drove me crazy reading this stuff. And I cannot believe that we're expected to practice that way.
So it's almost
amalgams, like drop amalgams. This stuff, that's very annoying to read all that stuff.
and it's almost like, and I shouldn't say this is going to get me in a lot of trouble, but it almost seems like if you try to treat the poor, you're thrown under a bus, even though that person goes to church every day, and they're like everything I ever read in religion is, treat the poor, service humanity. And it's like, if you're not going to be a Beverly Hills cosmetic dentist, you're supposed to like not talk at a study club.
Exactly.
Only the AACD fellows can talk. And you're not talking about 10 veneers on some psycho lady who, had filled with dermafill and plastic boobs and and a runway model. You're just supposed to shut up, because treating the vast majority of earthlings with low cost fast dentistry for the poor, that's just not moral. That's just not right, and you're just almost looked down on, which is crazy to me.
Yeah, and how about this thing, don't do dentures? I cannot believe how many dentists don't want to do dentures. That's absurd. There's a huge demand for dentures.
Yeah, like every one of my uncles, like 100% of my uncles.
Yeah. I don't get it.
So what would you say? So describe your business model, and is it successful? Describe what you do to our listeners.
Well, my business model.
And if you say you do amalgam, I'm going to have to cut you off.
That's okay. That's okay. So, no, I mean, my business model is just basically like the business model of a McDonald's or Burger King or anything like that. Just give the people what they want, and if they have insurance, take it. And if they want you to do a crown for $350, just do it as fast as you can, and delegate it to the staff. I try to delegate as much as I can to my staff. And the negative of that model is people will wait. But it's basically I'll give them whatever they want as long as I'm
So
capable.
you're in Margate, Florida. Describe that. Is that like a suburb of Miami or Fort Lauderdale, or
It's
where
like
is that?
no, it's like a small town in northwest Broward County.
Okay, where is that? Like, what's your closest major city that I know of?
Fort Lauderdale and maybe Boca Raton.
And what is the demographics of your neighborhood?
I would say middle class retirees and families.
And is low cost your unique selling proposition? I mean, are you more low cost than the other dentists in your area?
Yeah, there are some in the area that advertise a less, but I'm pretty much at the bottom. I'm
And
pretty
is that
much at I'm pretty much at the bottom.
and has that been a successful financial business model for you?
Yeah, it made me very busy because when I first started out, I was a pretty much new dentist, not too far from out of school, and I figured, what I got to give them some reason to come to me. I mean, why would they come to me over a guy that's been in the area for 20 years? I don't have as much experience. So I came up with that model. Plus, I had a few insurance plans that that were already low fee, and I was able to deal with those successfully. So I decided to expand it to all my clients, not just the ones that have that particular insurance.
So would you say your biggest attraction for new patients is that you take their insurance, or is it location, marketing, advertising?
I'd say the biggest attraction is the insurance, then the advertising, then third, they a lot of them like me after they meet me, and they refer their friends.
Yeah, I know I like you. I
Three.
really do, dude. I think you're an amazing guy. So then everybody's out there. They're just. I know. I always try to estimate the questions of like 7,000 individual dentists listening to this podcast, and the first thing they're gonna trip up. Excuse me. Did you just say you do a crown for 350 and make money on it? How the hell can you do a crown for 350 and make money on it?
It's hard. Luckily my lab only charges me 65,
For what?
and I
Is that
prep the tooth very
is that a
quick.
PFM, zirconium?
It's a PFM. Or zirconia, I'll maybe charge another $50 for. But it's a PFM, non-precious. I do it fast. The assistant does most of the work. And plus, I do a lot of them as on emergencies, so it adds up. If it's 350 minus 65 is what? That's like 280. So you do three or four or five 280s, you got like $1,400 profit minus the materials and other overhead. But it works. It just you have to work fast.
So how many operatories and how many staff do you have? What's your layout like?
I got 10 operatories. I got 4 in the front that I work out of. I have 3 in the back that I used to have associates work out of, but now just my periodontist works there when he comes in. And I have 3 hygiene chairs.
So you used to have now how long have you been practicing? When did you get out of school? How long you got out of school in 87, same year I did, right?
87 I graduated, right.
So then are you 52 also, like me?
Yeah, 53.
You're 50, yeah, I'll be 53 next month. So how come you look so much damn better than me?
I don't know, I'm lucky. I take care of myself.
You got lucky genes. So
Yeah.
so did you used to have associates and then you find out that's not really a profit center, or you didn't like that, or talk to us
Well,
about
the
that?
last associate left in 2007, and then I was in the process of looking for a replacement. I knew that the economy in South Florida was going down the tubes, and
What
I
year?
was doing pretty much
2007?
the same numbers anyway. So I decided to go it alone.
And what are your hours?
I started 8. I typically end at 5, except on Friday I end at like 12. And
So
then
you're 8
on
to 5 Monday through Thursday, 8 to 12 on Friday,
yeah,
and then what? And then Saturdays.
no weekends.
So you work 4.5 days a week,
Yeah.
and you make a good living doing that.
Yeah, making a good living. I mean, I could be doing better. I could be doing worse. I consider it a good living.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
So
happy with it.
so if someone says to me, what do you think of Mauty? Describe Mauty. The first thing that would come out of my head is the dude has more common sense than anybody I know. It seems like dentistry is almost like a religion. I mean, you know what I mean? It's almost about. I mean, even yoga. I mean, when you go to Bikram, you ever do hot Bikram yoga?
No, no.
I mean, when I go to yoga, I mean, I've been doing it like 2 or 3 days a week for like 3 years. I mean, and sometimes you like ask the guy that you came with or something a question or something about, hey, after class, can you drop in? And you're like, shh, hey, no talking at yoga. And one
Right.
lady was laying down and her feet were facing the front. And she got in trouble because your feet are supposed to face the back. And it's like, and it's like, dude, this is yoga. I mean, why do you have to act like Sister Mary Aloysia? Why can't you really have to freak out during yoga? I mean, everybody takes humans are just hardwired. So many people just take everything crazy. What do you think is the biggest common sense? What is almost comically uncommon? Common sense is uncommon. What kind of uncommon sense do you find uncommon in dentistry?
Oh, well, the three worst: drop insurance, uh, don't do dentures, and don't do amalgams, and you can't deliver a crown for under $1,000. I mean, that kind of thing is just absurd.
And amalgams is where it's almost kind of scary because your dentist friends are smart. They have 8 years of college. They know math, physics, calculus, and they look you in the eyes and 100% of all the research shows that amalgams last longer than composites. And they just look in the eyes and go, oh, well, not mine. Well, no, no, no. Not if you do it right. No, not if you do it like I do. And you're like, dude, one's metal, one's plastic. One is filled with all antibacterial ingredients, a mercury, silver, zinc, copper, tin. Every one is antibacterial, and you just put in an inert plastic. And you think there's more recurrent decay under an amalgam with 6 antibacterial metals. I mean, it's like you can't make this shit up. I mean, I want somebody to look at me and say, yeah, I know composites aren't bacterial static. I know they have no antibacterial. I know they're made of plastic. I just really like tooth colored, and that's what I call the aesthetic health compromise. And I'll let my fillings not last as long and be more susceptible to recurrent decay because they're just so pretty. But that's not what they say. They
Right.
actually believe they last longer. And you're like, okay, here's Cochrane studies. Here's the ELF. Here's every piece of literature. And so it's like religion. They start with what they want to believe and they work backwards.
Yeah, and then the other thing that drives me nuts is this thing that dentistry has to last forever, otherwise it's not successful. How could any of this stuff last forever? It's under constant assault from food, clenching, the patients don't keep their mouths clean. How is it supposed to last forever? I mean, if it does, to me, that's fantastic. But I think we've held ourselves up to a impossible to meet standard. And then when
And
it doesn't work out, the patients blame us.
and where are you getting this vibe that you shouldn't do dentures? And what do you mean by that? And where are you hearing
Well, I
this? And
read it
what?
on Dental Town. There's so many guys that complain about the dentures. They do a denture, and the patient inevitably comes back and complains. And instead of just dealing with it, they give up. Oh, I'm not doing dentures anymore. Dentures is it's like easy money. It's like throwing away. It's easy. It's easy. I mean, we know the patient isn't gonna like it. It's a miracle that anyone likes that kind of a procedure. But most of them deal with it after a while, as long as you prepare them for it, that it's not going to be the greatest thing. They deal with it.
And do you do any mini implants underneath your denture patients?
Uh, yeah, I do a fair amount of those.
So you like minis?
I like them, but we've had some failures recently, so I'm kind of a little disappointed. But I do them. I still do them because it's a low cost alternative to implants. So
I know, and I still can't believe it. In America, with 330 million people, if you said 100 grandmas to an oral surgeon, a periodontist, a prosthodont about that she can't wear her dentures, all of them will only present a $50,000 treatment plan with sinus lifts, full implants, bars,
yeah,
ridges, and not one of them will send back to grandma and say, "Well, I had two alternatives: a low cost $5,000 denture with 4 mini implants on the bottom and 6 on the upper, and then a little bit more money for 2 implants in a bar, 4 implants in a bar." It's just like a Porsche or hit the door. And you're like,
exactly.
it's like, are you kidding me? You really think 330 million Americans are all going to buy a Porsche? I
I
mean,
know.
most
I had a
car
patient.
dealerships don't even sell Porsches or Mercedes or any of these things you're doing.
That's right. I had a patient lose his teeth because of that. He was presented the treatment plan was like 50 grand, and of course he didn't have the money. He didn't want to do it anyway, and he was all frustrated. So he let his teeth go, and then of course I did immediate dentures for a few $1,000s. That's what happens in dentistry today. You
Yeah.
know, the patients give up. It's too expensive.
Yeah, and why can't dentists understand that, that everybody talks about Henry Ford invented the car, and they did, and there were 100 car companies and all over. Most of them were just small, but he started the assembly line, but he had one model, a Model T. You could have any color you want as long as it's black. It was one price, and it was actually GM who closed down the Model T line because they came out with the Chevy to go against the Model T. That a little more money and nicer is a Pontiac, a little more money nicer is old, a little more money nicer is a Buick, and the most nicest was the Cadillac. And having 5 different price points, adding features and prices up, so a Chevy was just like a Model T, but then the Pontiac had an electric starter. The Oldsmobile had a roof over it. The Buick had all those with removable wheels, and the Cadillac even had all those and the first radio, a Motorola rock and roll radio. They had 5 price points, but if you send grandma to anybody for an implant deal for her ill-fitting denture, they just come back and say, well, they said there was a Cadillac for 50 grand.
Yeah.
You're like, that's it? There was no Buick, no Pontiac, no Chevy, no nothing, just a Cadillac? Yep.
Yeah, why is that? I don't get it.
I think a lot of the CE market is that you're not validated unless you go to these finishing schools, and the finishing schools are always going to teach the most expensive way to do anything. And I remember the opening words I got in the Pink Institute. Now this is 20 years ago, so they've changed. They're different now. But they said they'd say, no, you want to work on the right people, and they started describing the A patient, and you don't want to work on the B or C or D patient, and they started describing them. And as they're describing the D patients, they just described the entire Farran family tree from Wichita, Kansas.
Right.
And all the examples were all my cousins and brothers and sisters and moms, and I'm like, really? So you want me to not treat my entire pedigree of Kansas trailer trash? And I mean, our family reunion has more white trash than a paper plate factory, and and I just thought, McDonald's can make money. You don't have to be Ruth's Chris. You can make money at McDonald's. You can make money at Ruth's Chris. But the bottom line is, serve your fellow human being and make a profit off it. And that's what I loved about you. And how many times did someone try to talk you out of your business model on Dental Town in the last 20 years?
So many people.
Yeah.
Even one of my supply reps the other day told me I'm too low. My fees are too low.
So let's talk about amalgams, because obviously those metal fillings with all those antibacterial mercury, silver, zinc, copper, tin, they don't last. So do you realize that a barrel of oil is trading at $50 a barrel, and a barrel of bonding agent is $1,500,000? Go ahead, look at your bonding agent and do the math and calculate. You just paid $50 for that little 50 milliliter bottle. Do the math on how much that would cost for a 50-gallon barrel, and the cheapest one I can find is still over $1 million, and the average one, the most common ones, are about $1,500,000 a barrel. And then that same dentist say, how come my supply bill is so high? And I'll say, well,
Right.
How come that little boy came in, he needed an occlusal on his 6-year molar, and you could have drilled that out and put an amalgam, and it probably would have lasted 35, 40 years. But you had to drill it out and put a rubber dam, do bonding, etching, all that stuff like that, and it probably lasts 10. Why did you do all that for something that no one will ever say? I mean, it's a boy. He has a burger in his nose. His hair's sticking up on the side. He cries when he has to take a bath. And you just did a cosmetic procedure. I mean, you had to use a rubber dam. You had to use a bonding aid. You had to use all these disposable stuff. And I get it with girls. I do. I get it. Girls will do the aesthetic color combine. The girls just want tooth colored. I get that. But half the world is boys, and half the fillings are molars that can't be seen, and they just can't do an amalgam.
Right.
Why do you think that is?
I have no idea. I can't explain it, Insanity? I don't know. I just can't explain it. Or maybe they feel they're not, maybe they got caught up in the latest health craze that the amalgam isn't healthy, or the mercury, or they feel they want to present themselves as more of a modern cosmetic dentist, not an old school guy that still pushes silver. I have no idea.
The funniest thing about the mercury is when the mercury is bond in amalgam to silver, zinc, copper, and tin, if you swallow the amalgam, it comes out the other end 24 hours later. It's the same weight. But it's the ethyl and methyl mercury in the ocean that's absorbable in all the seafood, and all the anti-mercury people are always the seafood. Oh, I just eat sea bass and shrimp and lobster, and that's just
Yeah,
loaded with ethyl and methyl absorbable mercury. It's like, dude, come on, be consistent. If you're anti-mercury, the first thing you would give up is tuna and shellfish.
that's right.
But if you're anti-mercury and you're eating a tuna sandwich or shellfish, I mean, now we've left science again. So now we no longer believe in gravity or math. We're just talking feelings. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah. Huh. So what else did you want to talk about today? Fees too high, inefficiencies. Well, I'll tell you this. Do you own a CAD cam?
No,
Do you own a CBCT?
no.
Well, what do you own a 75 or a $50,000 BioLace or a Millennium laser?
No, the only thing I own is I do have a digital pen with external bite wings. I thought that was a good investment, and we're doing implants, so we need a pano. And then I just got digital X-rays. I have that. I take digital PAs, and that's about it.
So
My,
what kind of implants are you placing?
uh, I use Oso Biomedical.
Mm-hmm. And
I use
why'd you
those.
pick that one?
My periodontist liked it. That's all.
So
And they
a
gave us a
colleague
good
referral.
deal. They gave us a good deal on the implant and the abutment.
And where'd you go for trading?
Well, me, I didn't go. I didn't get any training. My periodontist places the implants. He went to he got the training.
Oh, he comes in your office.
Yeah, he's a freelancer. He comes in Wednesday afternoons and places them.
Now, are you allowed to talk about like how does that work? I mean, like how do you pay him? Is it a percentage? Or you?
Percentage. It's 50 to 60% depending on what we're going to charge the patient. You know, if I'm making the fee a little bit lower, maybe I'll give him a little bit more of the case. If it's a standard fee, we'll split it
And
pretty much.
is that something you're doing as a service, or is that a profit center for you?
No, that's a big profit center. The implants. That's a huge demand for that.
So how often does he come in?
He comes in every Wednesday afternoon, but he takes probably 2 months vacation throughout the year. So he works like 10 months out of the year.
Just Wednesday afternoon from like 1 to 5?
Yeah, but we work late because if someone wants to come in late for that type of case, we'll stay late. So maybe it's
Yeah.
like 1 to 7.
So it's a good deal for both of you then.
Yeah, for him it's great because he has no overhead. He comes in, does a few implants, and leaves. And for me, it's great too because I get a little cut of the implant, and I do more crowns than I normally would do if we weren't offering that service.
And
Plus also the dentures.
so why did you not get a CAD cam?
I don't know because I don't think that fits into my office. I don't have time to build crowns. I do too many, and it's too expensive. And
Yeah.
so
So
I'm
what?
not even supposed to comment on the CAD cam. You got your administrator said I can't talk about CAD cam. Ranks always make fun of it.
You know, yeah, I remember. Well, my problem with dental, if I had to look back at one mistake, is when I started Dental Town in '98. I'm still a registered libertarian. I believe as far as Republicans and Democrats, one robbed the bank, one drove the getaway car. They're an oligopoly. If you're proud of one of those two parties, I don't even get it. And I was a libertarian, and I just believed that every dentist had 8 years of college, and I sure as hell wasn't going to edit or monitor. It's self-policing, whatever. But I did not understand the concept of cyberbullying. I didn't understand the concept
Right.
that there were just psycho people that just sit there and want to throw mud at you, and somebody would post a really nice case and some anonymous person would just be mean. And then I finally realized that libertarian is between you and your government. Like you have right to free speech against your government. That's the Constitution, right? But this Dental Town's private property. And I finally realized Dental Town, it's just me. I own the thing 100%, and it's like my house. And if I'm having so I finally realized that we're having a party at my house. And if you walk up to one of the other people at the party and say, you're ugly and you stink and you're an asshole, then I'm going to ask you to leave the party. And
Right.
I'm going to throw you out. And it was Howard Goldstein who kept telling me, this guy's dysfunctional, this guy's great. So when he came in years ago, I don't know, I think 4 or 5 years ago, we programmed a report abuse button, and we got some monitors, and we said, anybody, this is a fraternity, this is a party at Howard's house, so you can say anything unless you're hurting someone's feelings. Anybody can ask you questions. There's a way to say everything, but if you're just being mean, so he tried to change the whole tone and the whole pitch to saying, let's be constructive. So some people, like on CAD CAM, like someone would buy an E4D, which is there's not as many E4D users as Sirona Cerac users. And some people, every time they'd post an E4D case, someone would start saying, yeah, you should have bought a Cerac. You should have bought a Cerac. You should have bought. And we're like, dude, they're past that. Can we talk about this case? So finally we had to separate them like children, saying, you can't, so E4D, we had to do the same with implants and mini implants. I mean, mini implants, you post a mini implant case and somebody that's never posted one only does the big case, like, oh, you should have done a sinus lift in place of a real implant. It should have been a mile long and 5 miles wide. You real men only place root form, blah, blah. So finally we had to separate the minis and the implants. Like I say, so I think what Hogo has done very successfully is now we're all on the same team, and if you're not nice, he gives you, it's baseball, he gives you one warning, gives you a second warning, and then he boots you. And he's booted probably one a week since he's been there. And it's just be nice, because we dentists, we're getting beat up by the insurance, we're getting beat up by patients, we're getting beat up by everybody. Dental Town needs to be a refugee where we all go, we're in the same fraternity, it's a party at my house, and let's talk through our problems in a safe, fun way. So he knows you. He knows you're probably kidding, but he's probably just trying to, curb your cynical enthusiasm.
Yeah, he threw me off for a month a few years ago.
Did he really? I did not know that he threw you off for a month.
Yeah, it's okay.
And what's funny, he deletes a lot of my posts too. I'm like, I own the site, and they delete my posts because if I meet someone and I really feel in the heart it's great, but even though it's a company or they sell something, if I'm using it, I'm buying it. I buy all my stuff with all money. I don't take any freebies from you. I could have got free shit. I pay real money, and sometimes I'm plugging someone and I go, well, that's a commercial plug, and I'm like, well, it's from the heart. I did this, but so yeah, I even get deleted too. But
Right.
But I do think he's turned around the environment to more positive. And when someone clicks that, so if you're listening and you post something and someone makes you feel bad, hit report abuse, and people will look at it and say, did he say it mean or emoticon? Some people don't use emoticons, like they're absolutely kidding, but they don't use an emoticon, ha 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 or LOL or whatever.
Right.
So I want to ask you this, Monty. What would you say, since you're a conservative dentist? What would you say to these dental grads who just walked out of school with $250,000 in debt, and they're scared and they got a lot of debt? What advice would you give them?
For debt? Oh, because of the debt?
Well, you got out of school in '87. Did you have student loans, or did your mom and dad pay your way, or how did
No,
that work?
I was lucky. They paid. I was fortunate. They paid. So I had no debts, and my dad was a dentist. I went to work for him, and then I went to work at another office before I moved to Florida and bought my office. So I was lucky.
I didn't know your dad was a dentist. Where's he practice?
Well, now he passed away, but he used to practice in New York City, in New York, in Manhattan, and Brooklyn. So
Wow. So you're second gen? Are you the second dentist in the pedigree, or third, or?
I'm like the third. My grandfather was a dentist, and my uncle was a dentist. So I come from a family of dentists.
Your grandfather, your dad, and who else? And your
My
dad's
uncle.
brother?
My uncle.
So your grandfather, and he had two sons that both became dentists?
No, my grandfather had. No, they were both his son-in-laws. They were they were son-in-laws. They're both of those dentists. My dad and my
Wow.
uncle were son-in-laws.
So what lessons did you learn from your family tree of dentists? Did they have a formative impact on how you would view dentistry, or were
Yeah,
you the rebel kid, or?
well, the main thing they told me is dentistry is a great profession. You could always make a living, and that impressed me because my grandfather made it through the Depression doing dentistry. So that was a big thing that really impressed me. People were unemployed, going broke, and he was still plugging away, making money.
I thought
Well,
New
my
Yorker.
girlfriend just walked in. Hi. I'm sorry, my girlfriend just walked in.
Well, you got to introduce your girlfriend, because you're going to have the most viewed podcast, because with 70,000 posts, most people are going to watch this just because they want to meet Mauty. So you got to introduce your girlfriend.
Oh, you want me to bring her over?
Absolutely.
Hey, Elizabeth, come here. I'm being interviewed by Howard Farran. He wants to meet you real quick. She'll be here in a second.
What's her name?
Elizabeth.
And how long's she been your girlfriend?
Like 6 years.
Oh, dang,
This
that's
is
not a
why I didn't answer
girlfriend.
the
That's
phone. You want to say hello to Howard? Come here. This is Elizabeth.
hello,
Hi.
Elizabeth. How are you doing?
Good, good. How are you?
So how's it feel to be dating the most famous dentist on Dental Town, Mauty, with 17,000 posts on Dental Town? I don't think there's a out of the 200,000 dentists, there's probably
Yeah.
not two who don't know who he is.
Oh, I feel wonderful.
Yeah.
Very happy. She's very happy.
Feels
So
wonderful.
we all have to ask Elizabeth. So what is it like being a Dental Town widow to your boyfriend who's always on Dental Town all the time posting and not paying attention to you? How do you deal with that?
Oh,
Did you,
I think that's awesome.
She doesn't know. I sneak them in. She has no idea when I'm doing it.
so are you mostly on Dental Town on your what'd you say you have your a Samsung?
I'm on my phone sometimes, and usually I post when I'm doing my bills on Sunday and then
Hold on a
Saturday.
sec. Hold on, right back.
Usually I'm doing. That's why I post so much on the weekend. I'm doing my office work. So while I'm printing the checks or I'm looking over a chart, I'll rattle off a few posts.
Interesting. And right now you're doing this podcast on Skype on your Samsung?
Yeah, yeah.
Wow. And I think this is the first podcast I've ever done where someone wasn't on a desktop.
I
Leave
know
it
my
to
computer
Mauty.
doesn't have a. I don't have a webcam on my computer.
Leave it to Mauty to be the first person to do low-cost webcasts on his Samsung smartphone when 100% of the first 130 podcasts all use an expensive desktop with a webcam. You even brought your low-cost mantra to my podcast. Unbelievable. So how did your grandparents and uncles and dad shape your view of dentistry?
Well, they just did basic dentistry. My dad just did basic stuff: dentures, crowns, bridges, fillings, basic stuff. And the funny thing is, my father hated composites. He hated them. He hated it. He used to make me do them. I started working for him. The patient would want a bonding or a composite. He goes, "Go see my son." So even though I did it, I guess it seeped into my head that the composites are annoying, and I don't even like doing. I hate doing freehand composite veneers. I hate that. I much rather do a crown or even a porcelain veneer.
So, Monty, you've lived half a century. What advice would you give a young kid now walking out of dental school and he or she's got to go work with dad or mom as a dentist? And was their father son stress that kind of said, you know what, I don't want to work for my dad because I don't want to ruin my dad son relationship. I'm going all the way to Florida. Or did you just go to most New Yorkers don't move to Florida till they're 65? Or were you just such a visionary? You said, okay, I'm going to end up here at 65. I'll just make the move now while I'm young and save some kind of money on that. What was your thinking of moving from Manhattan to Florida? Was it weather, dad?
It was. I met my wife down here. So and once we decided to get together, she was living in Florida. I was living in New York. We had a long distance thing. So I knew once I was going to be with her, Florida is a much better place to practice dentistry than New York. It's not even close.
And that was 30 years ago? Or
it was like 1991.
Yeah, so they say that only of the 7 billion Earthlings, only 1% of Earthlings live in a country they weren't born in, and they only leave for a job or for love, or they're running from the government, whether they were guilty or innocent is another story. But so you moved there for love.
Yeah, pretty much.
But do you have any advice? Because at 50, we're so much been around the block more than when you're 25 getting out of school. What would you say to a 25-year-old dentist, boy or girl, working for her dad, boy or girl? What would your advice be for that?
Well, for that, I would say if your dad's office really has enough patients that you can make enough of a living, like a real dentist makes, then work for your dad. But if they don't have a big enough practice, then go work someplace else part-time. So that, because that was the situation with my dad. He didn't really have enough patients to support 2 full-time dentists. So I had to go off and find another job.
Did he tell you that, or did you
I worked in a Medicaid office. That really made me, working in a Medicaid office.
Yeah, and did working for your dad, do you think that kind of strengthened your father-son relationship, or was that a strain on it?
Sometimes it was a strain because sometimes I felt like when he was giving me the paycheck, it was like giving me an allowance. Like all right, don't, here's your paycheck. You could go buy a couple of slices of pizza now and a Coke. It was kind of, I felt like it was that type of a thing. But he taught me a lot. I learned a lot. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I think overall it was a positive.
And your dad's dad was a dentist too, your grandfather.
No, yeah, his father-in-law. His father, my
Okay, his
mother's
father.
father.
Okay, amazing. And did they ever work together?
Yeah, they actually worked together for a few years. Yeah,
Yeah. So
they had a very good relationship.
what advice would you give the young graduates?
Well, I would just say go work for even a corporate dentist, or just go work for somebody for several years until you really build up your speed and your treatment planning ability and your ability to deal with people. And then once you do that, go out and buy if you're a really good producer, take out a loan and buy a decent producing practice. And own your own practice eventually. That's what
Okay,
I would
so
do.
when you got out of school in '87, there's Orthodontic Centers of America on the New York Stock Exchange. There was a dozen on Nasdaq. They all disappeared. Nothing for a decade, and now they're all back. You got Heartlands and all these corporate dentistries. What do you think of corporate dentistry? And do you think they're going to get that they're reaching their peak and they're going to go away again, or do you think they're here for stay, or do you think they'll get bigger? What is your view on that? Because that's a very
Uh,
controversial
I'm, I,
topic.
well, I view them in a way as a positive because it's a market for dental practices when some of us want to cash out. Um, I also view it, I guess for some dentists it's a negative because there's competition, but I like them around because they're ultra aggressive with their treatment plans, up to the point of making stuff up. And I get a lot of new patients from these places because I'm offering the same fees, but it's a personal touch. It's me in the office. I'm not answering to some corporate guy. So I'm not afraid of them in a way. In a way they're positive because a lot of dentists don't have their retirement fully funded due to the stock market crashes over the years, and it gives you someone to sell your practice to. So it's a negative also because patients get turned off by their aggressive sell tactics, and I think it's given dentists overall a bad name. I don't think our reputation is as good as it used to be.
And do you think some chains do that more than others, or do you think they all do that, or what? Or is that just local ones to Florida in Margate?
Uh, from what I see, they all do that. Unfortunately, even solo dentists do it. I see ridiculous treatment plans all the time.
Yeah.
It's not like everyone needs $10,000 worth of work.
I know,
Everybody.
I know. I saw one just yesterday, and every single silver filling needed to be replaced with a crown and lay. And I just said, well, they're all old, but none of them have a cavity. They're not broken, and you know what I mean. But
Yeah,
they have all these internal cameras. There's craze lines and cracks and all that, and I'm like, well, go have the dentist look in the mirror. His eyes are covered with craze lines and his forehead cracks, and hell,
that's
he's
right.
he's falling apart. Have him do a couple of squats and listen to his knees pop, but doesn't mean you're going to take him down at the vet. You know what I mean?
Right.
So yeah, and that's why I think dentistry. I still think for you young kids out there, back in the day when Mauty and I got out of school, Reader's Digest was probably the most popular magazine in the world. And this guy took FMX and study models around to 30 dentists and got 30 different treatment plans that went from $0 to $30,000, almost like a straight line. And
Right.
Reader's Digest basically the write up started was like, dentistry is just not even a science. I mean, you couldn't get 30 dentists to agree on one treatment plan, and I still see that today. And that's why I don't understand corporate dentistry, because I don't think you can standardize a can of Coke, a can of beer, a Big Mac, but man, you can't standardize dentistry. I mean, if 100 dentists looked in the same mouth, they'd have 100 different treatment plans. Would you agree with that statement, or would you say that's
Yeah.
not true?
Yeah, it's totally true.
Yeah, so it's an art. It's an art form. It's not
Yeah,
even.
and some
It's
patients they don't even believe me when I tell them. I had a gentleman a few years ago. He was quoted $7,500 to fix his mouth, and he came to me and I said, well, according to your plan, you need one extraction, $75. He couldn't believe it. He came back 3 times to ask me, are you sure? Are you sure? Are you sure? So finally, we extracted the tooth, gave me the $75, and that's it. He's done.
the funniest one is when the dentists always say on Dental Town how these silver fillings have all this decay, and then they show a picture of the black scuzz underneath the silver filling. It's like, seriously, you made it all the way through dental school and you think there's a life form called black scuzz? Really? Some metallic staining and some stuff, and that's a life form? I mean, really? Did you get the DNA of that? You know, can we sit there and sequence out the DNA on that black scuzz? I mean, I can't even believe some of the stuff you hear.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And like I say, if someone comes in and they value that and they're just like, my smile means everything. I want all the black stuff removed and I want everything translucent. I want $1 million smile. Well, awesome. I do that too. I mean, I'll do all that
occasionally.
Yeah, I'll do that too. But don't sit there and tell someone they need it as opposed to want it, you know, and have the money for it and all that stuff. So what other common sense do you think is uncommon in dentistry? You said the big three, drop insurance, don't do dentures, and don't do amalgams. What other things do you find uncommon sense on Dental Town?
Let's see. Wait, I said drop insurance, don't do dentures, don't do amalgams. Oh, you can't do quality dentistry, fast. Dentistry has to be slow. And those hour exams, those new patient exams where they reserve 60 to 90 minutes for a new patient, that's absurd. I don't understand that. The patients don't even want to stay in the dentist that long. Patients love it when I look at their mouth, do a 5-10 minute exam, and say, that's it, I'm done, and they sprint out of there. You think they want to sit there for 60 minutes while you go over their x-rays and you take study models and photos and you mount them? That's absurd. I never heard anything like such nonsense.
So now, do you follow anybody on Dental Town? You know, on a person's profile, you can hit follow. So whenever they post your email that they made a post, do you follow anybody or?
I just follow the topics. I like whatever topic is interesting. I go for that. I mean, there's posters that I like, but
what posters do you like, and why do you like them?
Well, believe it or not, I like Mike Barr because he's kind of like me. He sticks to his position, and also he has got a good sense of humor about it.
And isn't he right around you in East South Florida too?
Yeah.
Yeah, I love Mike Barr. Love him to death.
That's great.
So you like Mike?
I like a lot of the posters. I mean, that Crispy Freestyle guy is pretty funny. And South Florida Dentistry, I can't believe I forgot his name. He's the guy that started my recent thread. I like him, Dr. Wyatt. And but there's so many I like. I mean, it's hard to really pinpoint them. But who else do I?
I have to thank you for all the years.
I like you, of course. I like you.
No, you're just saying that. You're just saying. You know what? I like to post a lot of images that people can give them ideas. You know, the American Dental Association isn't like a massive advertiser. Like if we owned a McDonald's franchise, a lot of our franchise money would be going for lots of broadcast advertising on TV and radio, trying to sell a product. And our American Dental Association is a nonprofit, and they don't really market and advertise. So I always like to post ideas for social media marketing for their Facebook and Twitter, or Google, or their website or digital. You know, I really get into that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I wish the ADA would do an advertising campaign. You know, all the others, who needs the other stuff? It would be
well, they can't, because every time they've ever made a commercial, they'll put it in front of the committee, and they'll sit there for a year and a half splitting hairs on a paragraph of words, and the periodontists and the dentists. I mean, they the only way they could do it is if they sit there and gave it to an advertising agency firm and say, here, just take the money and do it, and don't ever even show us the ad. Because if you get 10 dentists in a room and show them the ad, it's like putting a kid in a round room and telling them to pee in the corner. They'll just
but
fight
it'd be so
over it.
easy. They could just do it like look at the milk industry did, and the beef industry. The milk industry said, what, got milk? And the beef said, where's the beef? You make it simple. You can have an ad that says, where's the teeth or something, and have someone smiling.
Yeah.
Be a little, it could be, it's easy. You don't
I
have
know.
to make it complicated.
But that's what dentists specialize in. The longest distance between 2 points.
That's right.
I mean, I have heard the stories from the ADA about the committees and the fighting about the commercials, and I mean they can't even agree on the message of that, or like I say, you can't get two dentists to agree on the same treatment plan. What advice? Let's talk about retirement. I'm anti-retirement because it's pretty clear that when people retire, they're less active. They sit on the couch, they gain weight, they drink more. Next thing you know, they're day drinking and they're dead. And one of the greatest things for longevity is having a purpose to get up and go to work. And if you had, let's say wanted to make $100,000 a year, well, you would take in retirement, you'd have to take, and you wanted it safe, so you wanted $100,000 a year. You divide that by 0.05 for a treasury. You'd have to have $2 million in bonds to make for every $100,000 a year. Whereas I know a ton of dentists that from 65 to 75 worked Monday, Wednesday, Friday from 6 a.m. to noon and made $100,000 a year. So that was equivalent to another $2 million in bonds, and it forced them to get up and take a shower and go interact with their patients and staffs and purpose. And the oldest dentists I've ever met, the oldest ones, were still seeing patients in their 80s and 90s. This year alone, I had a dentist come to me who survived Auschwitz in Poland, and he's 94 years old in LA, still practices. And that's the only reason he's still alive at 94, I guarantee. If that guy would have retired at 65, there's no way. And he was so excited about placing implants and all this. And another one was 92. And every time I meet a dentist who's 80 or 90, they're still practicing. And I just think, and a lot of dentists say, I say, what do you want to retire? Oh my God, what do you hate about it? Well, I hate endo. Well, then don't do endo. I can't stand my hygienist. Well, get a new hygienist. Keep keep changing your playpen until you just want to keep playing. And then I know, I'll give you an insight story. I might get in trouble for this one, but you know the inventor of Rembrandt toothpaste, Bob Ibsen. I mean, he sold that for $1 gazillion to Procter and Gamble, and then it was like a month or two later they were swallowed up by Gillette, and all this money, and he still goes in, and now what he's doing, I think he's 80 now, or 81, and so he just found women's shelters that needed, that got their teeth knocked out or whatever, and he still has his office and just goes in there Monday through Friday and does free rehabs on women whose lovers knocked their teeth out. And that's the only reason he started Denman. Remember, he loved it, and that's why. And he's 81, and he's still doing it. I swear, if Bob Ibsen would have retired at 65, probably would have started eating more, gained weight, got sick. Probably wouldn't even be alive now. And I bet you the only reason Bob Ibsen's still alive at 81 years old because he always loved it, and he has a mission. He's always showing cases about this Lumineer case he did or whatever on some. I mean, he just loves it. And when I go out to his house and I sit out there and I have lunch with him, and you just see the sparkle in his eyes about some girl he fixed up and this and that, and he's all excited and all that. And you take that away from someone. I mean, I don't get the whole retirement thing. I mean, Sam Wolf was found dead at his desk.
Like to retire. I don't know. I might have mixed feelings about that because it does get stressful and tiring the way I practice sometimes. So,
but you can slow down though. You don't have to go 7 to 7, 4.5 days a week. You could go Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 6 to noon. I mean, think about Monday. Think about Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, 6 to noon versus nothing till you drop dead.
Right. No, that's a good point. That's a good point.
And again, I've lectured 1,500 times in 50 countries, and I swear, I just all the old dentists are still practicing. You know what I mean? And other dentists, I don't know. I think it's a huge health thing, personally.
Oh, also, I don't like the rubber dam. I have to admit it. I always go. I don't. Everyone's obsessed with the rubber dam. I don't use it. I hated it in dental school. I hate the rubber. I don't use the rubber dam. That's another.
Well, what you do, Mauty, is you tack the rubber dam into the ceiling above you, so you can say you always practice under a rubber dam.
That's a good. I'll do that.
Yeah, that way you can just look them in the eye and say, "I always practice under a rubber dam." But you don't need to use a rubber dam as much because you're doing amalgam, right?
Yeah.
I mean, do you do posterior composites?
Yeah, I do. But if it's I think I get good enough isolation with the saliva ejector and the cotton rolls. If it's really a problem, I have the assistant come over and suction.
Yeah, and the bottom line is the dentist doesn't want to hear that you could get isolation with an isolate. That you could get isolation with 3-inch cotton rolls. It's more of a religion. It's like You use a rubber dam, or that's a mortal sin, and you got to go to confessional, and you got to say 3 Hail Marys, and you're bad. You know,
Right.
it's not like isolation's the objective, and you could get it 5 different ways. I mean, I know people that just love the isolate. I mean, just love it, especially for older people. It floods so much light in there. The suction's better than your assistant. Plus, your assistant, instead of standing there suctioning, she can be doing up, cleaning up, entering the notes, you know, doing all the things. I love isolate, and you can get absolute isolation with isolate, flooded with light. Plus, I got my headlight on, and there's still great friends of mine that'll just sit there and say, dude, if you didn't use a rubber dam, you're not a real dentist. It's
Right.
like, really? You weren't even there. You know what I mean? So what else? What else? I got. It's been 50 minutes. What other infinite wisdom can the famous Mauty share?
Oh, the blocks. Stop giving blocks. I say it every time. I keep reading these threads about failed blocks, and I don't. I haven't done a block in like over 10 years, maybe 15.
So what are
I
you
just
doing?
What? I use a regular syringe with septicane, and then I'll use a Ligaject, and I inject around the tooth with a
So you
PDL.
buckle infiltrate with a short blue gauge needle,
Yeah,
and
or a
then
long, whatever I have, doesn't really matter. And then I'll use the 30 gauge and a Ligajet syringe, and I do the PDL with septicane. I get very good anesthesia. Occasionally there's some pain in the injection site that goes away, but it's much more effective than a block. You know, everyone's always debating about these missed blocks. Oh, they have a gout gates, aim high, aim low. If it was such a successful technique, why would everyone why would there be so much debate about it? And also septicane. That's a great anesthetic. I mean, these guys that say it's a poison, it's polluting the universe. It's great. Septicane is one of the things I couldn't practice without.
and you think it's so great because lidocaine's 2% and septicane's 4%. I mean, do you think a lot of it's just because it's double the concentration?
It could be, but whatever, it works better. After using
Yeah,
septicane, lidocaine's like water. It's
true.
like water.
Yeah, I pretty much only use it. And what other threads are what are other controversial topics you see on the today's extra topics?
Other controversial topics. Um, just dealing with problem patients. Like some people get too upset when a patient criticizes them or, does a bad review online or they have to give money back. That's another big thing I see. Dentists are afraid to refund. If it's a problem case or a problem patient, giving them the money gets rid of them. That's
Right.
easy.
When somebody owes you $1,000 and they're upset, now they have 1,000 reasons to sue, 1,000 reasons to get on Yelp, online, file the board. I think one of the reasons I've never been sued in 28 years because I've always given the money back to anybody upset or got it fixed. Said, you don't like me? You want my associate to do it? You want me to give my money back? What do you want me to do? And Walmart says they refund 1% of sales. So if Walmart has to refund 1%, I guarantee you the entire dental industry didn't refund 1% last year. And that's why they get sued. And when people are feeling helpless, they go to Yelp. I also think what's funny about Yelp, I think that's the funniest thing. Dentists will get a Yelp review, and their knee-jerk reaction is hire attorneys, sue them, have it taken down, force whatever. Then they turn around and pay $50,000 for a consultant to come in their office and tell them what they're doing wrong. And I'm like, dude, the lady just gave you free advice on Yelp. She felt she had nowhere to go. She's very frustrated. She's whatever. And instead of calling her up and saying, God, Mary, I'm so sorry this happened. And oh my God, what can I do to make you happy? I'm just embarrassed and sad that this is the way you feel. What would make you happy? And then they make happy, then they take it down, and you get advice, and you can talk about that at your next staff meeting or the morning huddle or whatever. So success is very counterintuitive. When somebody comes in there and just all well, there's a chance she could be nuts. I mean, people are crazy. And I keep saying she. I mean, most of the data I'm showing, probably 80% online reviews are posted by women. Is that what you're seeing, or?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So, but I see it as just feedback, and it's just feedback. It's a new era. By the way, when you go out, when you're going to buy something, do you look at online reviews?
Never.
I never have either.
I never have except one time. My girlfriend, she had a juicer that wasn't working, so I I Googled best juicers, and I got a very good juicer. But other than that, I don't care. I know what I like, I know what I don't like, and I mean I know where to go to get it pretty much. If I don't, I just research like the location online, but the reviews I don't read.
They say I've read a lot of credible stuff saying that the reason Amazon's now the fourth largest retailer in America is it's Walmart, and then Costco, and then Kroger, and then Amazon. And by the way, if you don't know what Kroger is a group of
It's a
grocery
grocery
stores.
store.
So like in Kansas, it's Dillon's, in Arizona, it's Fry's. You know, they own. You know, they keep names local, kind of like Heartland does. Heartland doesn't brand Heartland Dental Centers. They buy an office, they keep your name on it.
Right.
Whereas Pacific Dental Services, Steve Thorne, they're branding a name like Walgreens. You know what I mean?
Right.
But
One more thing that drives me nuts is confirming patient stuff. Everyone's so concerned about no-shows. You're going to have no-shows no matter what you do, because I've done everything to prevent no-shows, and I just gave up. I don't even confirm it anymore. I think that's a big waste of time.
because people are crazy. And
Yeah, they're not going to. And who wants to go to the dentist anyway? So why are you trying to convince someone to do something they don't want to do? If they don't want to do it, someone else will want to come in and see you. You know.
And how many times, if I had $1 for every time I heard this, how was your day? Oh my God, it was swamped. In fact, I was supposed to leave at 3 to go get my blood work done on Dill, and I couldn't even get out of there. I'm like, oh, doctor. So you no-showed your doctor appointment. Oh, interesting. Interesting how the doctor no-showed his doctor appointment, because online, you're just like, these people are just crazy, and you got to prevent this. And the bottom line is you just did it. It reminds me back in 87 when every dentist would tell you that they would never want a patient that came from the Yellow Pages because them are just the worst patients in the world. And then in your eye, you could see his wife sitting over there in the kitchen going through the Yellow Pages using it. So is that your honey bunny? Is she asking to go?
No, I'm okay. She just wanted to see if I was still on, so I told her yes. That's all.
Okay, but it was funny. It's like, okay, so everybody comes off the Yellow Pages is a bad person, and your wife's sitting in the kitchen right now using the Yellow Pages, and people that no-show their appointment are evil animals, and you just missed your doctor's appointment. So yeah, that's funny. So I only got you for 3 more minutes. What would your what would your advice be to the people listening to this iTunes that have never been on Dental Town before? The website.
The people that listen on iTunes that have been to the website?
Yeah. What would you say to the dentists listening to this on iTunes? They may be in Kathmandu, they may be in Tanzania, Ethiopia, around the world, and they've never gone to the website. What would you tell them about Dental Town?
I would tell them to log on to Dental Town and just read. You will learn something, and also you'll be entertained because there's a lot of funny stuff on there. You do learn things and you get a good entertainment, and you have a place to vent. Because all of us have to vent. I mean, dentistry is stressful. So if you have a place to vent, you let it out.
Well, hey, that is an hour, and I just want to say this, Monty, seriously. I mean, you have given me more smiles and more laughs and more laugh out loud. I mean, I have spit out my coffee 10 times in the last 20 years. Man, I just love your humor. It's always spot on. And you're right, it is like Mike Barr. You and Mike Barr, you're going to weigh in the same way every single time. And I love you for it. I love you for holding your ground. I can't believe how many times I've lectured around the world and people come up to me and specifically ask, like, do you know Mauty? And, or whatever. I mean, dude, you have, my final question. You have 17,000 posts, and 95% of the dentists log on to Dental Town every day will never, ever post. And I always ask them why, and they're like, they're afraid. And I think it's because obviously you're a social animal, you're a pack animal, so you don't want to draw attention to yourself, and you're just hardwired to get along so that you're all work together. So what would you say to that person who just so much wants to say, I agree or disagree or whatever, but they just don't have what you have? What do you and I have where we don't care why we post and other people just are afraid to post? What do you think it is?
I think it's my upbringing because my parents, they didn't care about stuff. They were very thick-skinned, and pretty much they used to tell me life is like a big game and just roll with the punches. So I don't take things personally, it doesn't really matter. I mean, there's no effect on me. People should post. They should post their opinions. If they can't post on a website in the privacy of their own home, how can they go into an office and tell patients what to do about their dentistry? I mean, that's actually more scary than posting on a website. if you think about it, right, you're talking to another human being and trying to convince them to do something. That's if you think about it, that's a lot more nerve-wracking than an anonymous post on a website at 12 in the morning, right? I mean, midnight or whatever you do it, right? I think so. They shouldn't be afraid.
And I always tell that they're always worried about what someone's going to think of them. And I say, I can assure you, out of 7 billion people on the planet right now, nobody is thinking about you. People only think about themselves.
That's right.
They're not taking a shower wondering what, Dawn posted yesterday or what Mike Barr said this or, whatever. No one's thinking about you. So if no one's thinking about you, why are you afraid when everyone else is thinking about you? Everybody else is totally thinking about themselves, trying to get through their breakfast and work and lunch and commute and dinner and laundry and this and that. No one is sitting around thinking about you. And every day on Earth, 150,000 Earthlings die every day, and you didn't know one of them that died yesterday. You didn't go to one funeral. Yesterday, you didn't shed one tear for one person died. Life goes on, the circle of life. 150,000 die every day. 200,000 are born. No one's thinking about you. So success is counterintuitive. So if you have a problem, if you don't log on and share and tell what your issue is, nobody can help you. So don't spend any time worrying about what anybody thinks. Spend all your time on, here's a free resource where you could go on there and say, I'm kind of stressed. Here's my problem. And then all these free volunteers like you and so many will get on there and give you their advice for free. And it's just special and it's romantic. And it's guys like you who made Dental Town so damn special, Mauty. And for that, I will always love you. You're like a brother to me. Thank you for all you've done for your own patients. Thank you for all you've done for dentistry. And thank you so damn much for all that you've done for Dental Town.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
All right. We'll see you at a townie meeting again some year.
Okay.
All right, buddy. Take
care.
Take
it easy.